What is up, YouTube? Live via satellite here, and today we are talking Kingdom. And in particular, guys, today we are discussing whether Shin is really dead. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. There's no way Shin could possibly be dead. I mean, he's the MC of the manga, right? There's no way that Hara would actually kill the main character. And if you believe this, I am going to tell you right now that you're probably right. But there is a slight chance, a small one, but a slight chance that Hara actually did it. So for a second here, let's consider hypothetically that Shin is actually dead. Alright, so when you look back at the end of chapter 628, we see that Houken already saw that the embers of Shin's life had already been blown out, right? But she stresses the fact that it's not just out, but it's been out for a while now. And really, it seems pretty easy to track down when this may have actually happened, because if you go back to chapter 627, we see a scene where Houken is trying to get the men to stop Shin from going any further. She even says at that point that he's all ready, and then it doesn't finish. Now, obviously, when reading it the first time, you're going to think that she's thinking he's already at his limits or something like that, right? But now knowing what we know, she was probably about to say then that he's already dead, or his embers had already blown out. And it's actually really interesting to read the rest of the fight from there on out, assuming that Shin is pretty much dead at that point. Now, here's where things start to get a little weird, right? Now, assuming that Shin is dead, we're at least on like the fringe of life where he's holding on by the tiniest of a thread. Then there's gonna have to be some sort of way to bring Shin back. I mean, let's be real here. None of us are naive enough to think that the series is gonna continue without Shin, right? Now, I think most people would think that this is probably a part where Houken jumps in and maybe she tries to share some of her life force with Shin to help bring him back, to get his embers relit in a way, you know? Or maybe he'll possibly get some help from all the spirits and things that were helping him during the Houken fight. That's a possibility. But the thing that came to my mind after reading the chapter, like almost immediately, was that the person who's gonna help Shin is probably gonna be Houken. Now I know it sounds far-fetched, but if you look at the beginning of this chapter, right? We spent the whole beginning portion of this chapter learning about Houken's parents, right? We learn a lot about their healing abilities, and we see that both of them have these healing abilities. It's even told to us from one of the guys in the village that he believes that the child that they had is going to be even more special since he's the product of two special people. Now you have to ask yourself, why in the world would Hara waste time showing us this? I personally think it's just to remind us that Houken has these powers. And I think it's been kind of hinted at since the beginning. And I think this is a great way of explaining how he was able to survive after Oki thought he had killed him. And it also explains how Raboku found himself healed after talking to Houken in chapter 623. Because if you go back to that chapter, Raboku was so injured, he was even talking about how he was trying to have to keep his entrails inside of him. He was in such bad shape that he had practically given up. But after talking to Houken, and you can actually see Houken's hand like over top of him, the very next day he was actually able to move. So we know that Houken has these abilities, right? But the next question you have to ask yourself is why? Why would Houken want to help Shin? And I think the answer to that is very, very simple. I think after being defeated by Shin, Houken's going to realize that his way has been wrong all along. That he never had the answer, and that the answer is embodied in everything that Shin stands for, right? And I think that even though Houken's pretty much dead right now, he could use like his last little bit of strength to, you know, help relight the embers for Shin. And I think it could be that simple. And I definitely want to give a shout out to my boy Tom here, because me and him were actually discussing this, and he pretty much agreed with me and took it like a little step further, where he said he thought like Shin might wind up in like the spirit realm where he's able to talk with like all of the people who passed on before him, like Oki, the Duke, Hyo, which I thought was actually a pretty cool idea. But he would be able to see all of those guys and maybe even talk to Houken direct and like chop it up before Houken actually agrees with him all the way, and then, you know, uses his life force to bring him back or whatever. And I know, this sounds pretty strange and far-fetched, and yes, it might not happen. But I thought it was a really interesting idea, and I thought it was something that you guys might be interested in hearing. So there it is. So this may be overthinking it, but who knows. So anyway guys, that about does it for this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. And let me know, do you guys think that Shin can come back this way? Or do you have any other ideas for how Shin gets brought back? If of course he's even dead. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and feel free to share, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.